Welcome to Nick Saban Jr. Sports Talk TV show. Hey, tonight we're going to be talking about the potential depth chart talk. I got my guys on tonight, Sutton Smith and Josh Batchelor. Hey, before we get this thing started, I know y'all heard the comments about Hugh Freeze saying we probably need to try to switch up the way we play the spring game, probably to play in-state teams like UAB, Troy, probably Alabama States, and all the other teams. My thoughts on that was it's entertainment. It sounds good. I would like to see it, but I really don't like it because of the simple fact that you might have kids trying to from Troy or UAB trying to come up on the Alabama guys, and instead of playing it safe like you would do a spring game, a second stringer get a clean shot on Malik Benson or something. Like, why wouldn't he take it? So what is y'all thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's two things that why I don't think we should do it. First off, I don't think you're going to be able to play as many kids as normal. I don't think those third and fourth string guys are going to get as many looks because you're going to want to go out there and win. It's just going to be like a normal game. You're going to want to go out there and win. And let's just hypothetically say Auburn or Alabama lose to a UAB or Troy, just because there's so much turnover roster in the turnover to the roster in the offseason. A lot of guys that are on the spring roster for Alabama may not be there in the fall. So I don't think it's a good idea. Entertainment purposes, it would be good for entertainment purposes, but and just the team aspect, I wouldn't think that's a good idea. And Auburn can run it however they want to run it. So can Alabama, but I don't see this happening in the future.
Yeah, I agree with Sutton. From a physicality standpoint, too, you don't want your guys hurting, like you said. I don't think it serves any advantage because like your guys could you're not really showing off your teams, and I think the point of the spring game is to show the fans where you're at a certain point and introduce you to a lot of players you've never seen before. So like it's going to be fans' first time seeing Caleb Downs. It's going to be fans' first time seeing both quarterbacks, and those quarterbacks may not get to play for 2 years on the field at Alabama. So at least familiarize themselves with a fan. I think that's a great thing about A-Day. Just shows where your team is at in a really competitive environment and gets you hyped for the season. I don't know if Troy – I think the physical – it's different than like basketball. Basketball, you can afford to do a scrimmage. With football, it's not like – you got to have more of a turnaround. And I think if you did do it, it'd have to be like right before fall season. But I don't even think it'd be the right time to do it during A-Day.
See, I was like – go ahead.
Hey, go ahead.
No, see, I was thinking the same thing because one thing I love about the A-Day game and all these spring games, G-Day and whatever games, it's an in-house evaluation. And I was talking about, I did a video on earlier. It was like I was saying that we get these recruits that we're so excited to see, and those are the perfect times because everybody is not coming in right away to play right away. And so this is a perfect time to see these guys and see what they can do. And that's why I love it. And what purpose do we really serve playing a Troy or UAB? And like y'all said, what if you so happen to lose? And another thing, that cuts back on the time from the younger guys for the other dudes that's trying to come in and get the starting position. So I agree with everything you guys said.
And it's not even for starters. I'm only using a couple of quick examples. I think it's safe to say that the quarterback competition is kind of narrowed down to Milroe and Simpson. Yeah. But this first spring game is going to be very helpful to the development of Eli Holstein and Dylan Lonergan because they're both of them. If Holstein or Lonergan see the field, they may hand the ball off. I'm willing to bet good money that they throw combined less than 10 passes in this season. I'm willing to bet pretty good money on that. Yeah. So when are they going to get actual in-game reps in front of the fans in Bryant-Denny Stadium? Because if we were to play a Troy or a UAB, they would not touch the field. I mean, a lot of coaches would say they would try to play everybody, but they're not. It's just how it is in the competitive. It doesn't matter who wins A-Day. I mean, they're going for franks and beans and steaks. I mean, they're not going for a win column. And no one's talking over the offseason, the white team, they lost to the crimson team. No one's saying that. But if Alabama was to lose to Troy, even by, I don't know, a point, that
Yep.
would be a talking point the entire
Mm-hmm.
offseason. And then, like you said, the young players. I mean, let's go back and look at the past MVPs of the spring game. They're typically not guys that are starters. I mean, Mac Jones won it
Mac
2 years in a row as a third string.
TJ Yeldon won it like 3 times in a row, I think.
Yeah, Mechie won it 1 year when
his
he was
freshman year too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right. So would those guys get those MVP trophies or even get near the playing time they would are supposed to get in a spring game? No.
Yep, that's exactly. Yeah, I just want to talk on that because, like I said, if it were to happen, I couldn't stop it, and I would like to see it, but not for my Alabama Crimson Tide. I want to see. One thing I love about it too is it's always an Alabama player on the field getting reps at all times, and that's what I love about it. So,
and also in Auburn's sake, they've got a 3-way quarterback competition right now.
Yeah.
How do you go about playing guys? I mean, how do you go about? And they're a team that needs to develop depth more than most teams in the SEC at the current, in the moment right now, especially with a first-year head coach with Hugh Freeze. So I thought that was kind of a interesting statement for him to say. I would thought that would come more from maybe not a Nick Saban, but a more veteran coach at a team that he's been there for a little bit longer than Hugh Freeze having been there 1 year. I mean, I think if anyone needs a spring game, it's that first-year coach, especially at an SEC school.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he's just trying to be heard and seen right now. That's what I feel like he's doing right now. Hey, but I'm gonna tell you the funny thing about this topic. We seen it yesterday on the other channel I work with, CTS Sports Room. We talked about it weeks ago. We just brought it up. We talked about it weeks ago, and it was funny that when we seen it yesterday, I was like, "Hey, we talked about this first."
Yeah.
So, y'all, let's talk about what we're here for. This potential depth chart. Let's talk about it. So, we're starting off with the quarterbacks.
Oh, wow.
And like you say, it's kind of 50-50 with the fans. Actually, I think it's more 60-40, and it's Ty Simpson with the fans and 40 with Miro. So, what are y'all thoughts on this? Josh?
This is a very polarizing topic, but I'm personally on the Ty Simpson train. I think the first duty of a quarterback should be able to move the ball down with their arm, and I think Ty does a better job at that right now. Not saying Miller can't, obviously, because he made that. We see he has the arm talent to make that throw to Ja'Cory in that clip over Kool-Aid. It's just something I haven't seen in game yet when the full team's rushing at it, and we haven't seen it at a Ty yet. But he's known as a passer. When Miro came into Alabama, he was known as an athlete, and the arm was the main thing he had to revise on. Ty came from a 2A school in Tennessee, so it was the experience and adjusting to the competition. I think that both of them have significant room to gain on, but I personally lean with Ty because I trust him to. I think he has more potential to move the ball down the field. I think with Miro, teams will probably try to focus in on the run, and I think maybe they try to force him to make throws downfield, which he hasn't consistently proven yet when he's gotten the chance. And that's just where I stand right now. Obviously up to change. I love both guys. I think really talented room. It's just going to be one of those things we probably won't know till the first game, and we may not even know after the first game. So as Saban would say, I'm not going to answer, so quit asking.
Facts.
That's what he's going to be saying all year, so don't ask him.
Yeah.
And I want to address the question asked right here by Robert while it's up there. Is there any worry about potentially facing Malik Murphy in week 2? We have struggled against dual threat quarterbacks in the past, but I think it's tough to say that we worry because we know Malik was hurt last year over at UT. He was also third on the depth chart in spring, but we haven't seen he's kind of in the same boat I think as Ty Simpson is. We haven't seen him played. In live action in college yet. For sure, the legs are something to worry about. And to be honest with you, I don't know too much about him as a prospect. I know he was a top. I think he was a 5-star, verge of being a 5-star. Really good quality player. They've got Texas probably has the best quarterback room in the country with Ewers and Murphy and
Arch.
And Arch, Arch. But I'd be really surprised if Murphy played us because I think Ewers kind of has that spot down, and I think that's kind of Ewers is more what Sark's looking for. But back to the Alabama quarterback topic. I want to preface by saying all three of us, we just want to see the best quarterback out there. It doesn't matter whether it's Simpson, whether it's Milroe, Holstein, Lonergan. It doesn't matter who it is. Alabama fans just want to see the best one. This is just who we think is going to start. And just by what I've seen, I haven't seen anything from Simpson in a live action game. I saw him last year in 8A. He was running against the twos. Looked good. He looked good. I'm very interested in seeing what he looks like in spring, but I just think that experience and familiarity in the system is going to help Milroe tremendously. I think Milroe's athleticism is something you can't argue against. I mean, he's got one of the highest ceilings, I think, of any quarterback in the country. Now, when I'm talking ceiling floor, I think Simpson may have a higher floor than Milroe, but Milroe's ceiling is, I mean, he could go all the way to the sky. I mean, he has the athletic ability that I haven't seen a quarterback have at Alabama here in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, and it's kind of crazy saying this because I wasn't his biggest fan. I liked him as a player, very good leader. Yeah. But Blake Sims was a great athlete that played quarterback here at Alabama, and
underrated.
Blake, except I think Milroe is maybe a little bit more athletic and maybe can run you over more than Blake could. But yeah, I like Milroe in this competition just because of that experience and familiarity, and I think he's going to gel really well with Reese, and like we were talking about last week with that creativity in his offense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to everything you said, and then go back to what Josh was saying. It's the little experience to me that that Milroe has right now. And like we said, Ty played in a 2A school versus Milroe played, he played high-level football in Texas, where I'm pretty sure he played a lot against a lot of D1 commits probably. I'm pretty sure. And what I do like about Ty, he is a coach's son. He's been raised around football, and I know his football IQ is probably like higher than no other right now. But I like Milroe in this. I like Milroe in this position because of, you go back to what I was saying before about when he played A&M. Yes, he had 3 turnovers, but for a young kid in that situation to be thrown in at that moment, he easily could have gave up. But he stuck it out. He still played hard, and he had some good moments in that game. And I feel like it was just a growing pain for him. It was a growing moment. It was a learning lesson. And I don't feel like the offense was catered around him at that time. I feel like Tom Reese will come in and cater around Milroe or Ty, whatever the quarterback he decides to go with. I feel like he will cater around either guy. So with that being said, I think it will benefit Milroe this season tremendously with Tommy Reese and what Tommy Reese is trying to provide for the offense. So I got Milroe on this one. I'm going with Milroe.
Yeah, and those were
one thing I do want to say. We all seen this pass that was made, and I'm not one of the guys that overreacts, because we overreact when we see a little something because we don't see nothing. My thing is he doing that consistently in practice, or was it just a moment that they had? That's why I don't overreact. And I love the clip now. I love the catch. I love the pass, but I don't buy too much into it either.
And today in Jacory's press conference, Jacory even said the next pass that was thrown his way was picked. Now we're not sure if Milroe threw that. I mean, it could have been Simpson. It could have been anyone. But
Milroe said he threw it. Milroe said he threw it.
Milroe threw it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think 2 great points that you made were the growing pains that Milroe had, and I mean, I think for most quarterbacks that's going to be a tough situation to walk into, especially with the headlines about Jimbo and Saban's relationship going into that game, and how it after last year and everything that was said about him, Saban saying he was buying his players. I think that it was just a very high emotional game. But I think we talked about this last week, Nick, but I think it was very telling that Simpson didn't come in that game. I mean, at halftime, I thought going into halftime, hey, we might have there's a potential that Simpson, we kind of see a Tua swap where Simpson comes in to start the second half. I mean, because that was at the point, I think he had fumbled twice and he threw the pick right before halftime.
Yeah, right before.
I mean, I thought it said a lot of what Saban thinks of Milroe, not only as a leader on the field, especially going into this year, but also just about his experience, just overall, I don't know, ability to run the offense last year. I know it wasn't catered to him, but that was confidence from Nick Saban, and I think that can go a long way in a player's career, especially a quarterback.
Yeah. Hey, and I'm gonna bring up something else that was going on in Ja'Cory Brooks' press conference. You know, they kept asking him about both quarterbacks, and he never said nothing negative about either quarterback, and that's going to be key into the season. Not letting this quarterback division, this battle divide the locker room. So I like the way he was answering the reporters. You know what I'm saying? When they was asking about Ty, then he was like, "Well, both of them are, they're doing well and stuff." He was just saying good things about both of them. So that's going to be key. Not letting this quarterback battle divide the locker room coming into the season as well.
Yeah, speaking on that, me and Sutton had a class with Malachi a few semesters ago, and professor asked him, like, as far as like PR training and stuff like that, and there's like specific questions they're not allowed to answer. They're not supposed to talk about the depth chart, so
Yeah.
they don't want them making comparisons out to the media to hurt the team publicly, and so they're real careful with how they train players on what and what to not say. So I thought Ja'Cory handled himself pretty well today.
Yes, and Darian Dacor actually had a situation too where they was asking him stuff. So he was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna go too much into it. I don't want to give y'all too much." So, yeah, I can tell that was good training. That was great training.
Yeah, and before we move on from quarterbacks, just an interesting question I have for both of y'all. I mean, we know we've just talked about who we have at 1 and 2, but 3 and 4, Holstein or Lonergan, who do we have at 3? Who's winning that little battle between the freshmen?
Holstein.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got, Nick?
Holstein.
Yeah, I agree. I think that him practicing in the Sugar Bowl went a long way, and then Lonergan just coming out of an injury too. I agree. All right, so just talk quarterbacks. Obviously, Bryce departing the NFL probably gonna be a top 2 pick, definitely top 3. So you can never. And we talked about this last week, Nick. You can never replace a Heisman winner. I mean, it's very tough to do that. And Alabama's not going to ask either one of these guys to be Bryce Young. They're just going to ask them to go and play their game. So that's what we're looking at quarterback. And at running back, we had two departures from the team this past year. We have Jahmyr Gibbs. He's probably going to be a first or high second-round pick. I'm thinking more towards the end of the first round. And then we had Josh's favorite player on the team last year, Trey Sanders, transfer over to TCU. I'm hoping good things for him over there. Should contribute. That's right. Should contribute immediately over there with the loss of Kendre Miller. But we got 3 really good returners, 3 guys that I'm super excited to watch play this year. We got senior Jace McClellan, senior Roydell Williams, and sophomore Jamarian Miller, now going by Jam Miller. Josh, what do you think about these 3 guys that we've got returning this year?
It's not the most headlineable class. I mean, I'm pretty confident in Jace, but he's not a no Najee. He's not a Brian Robinson even. He's not a Derrick Henry. He's not a TJ Yeldon. So I wouldn't put him in that tier. I think he has a lot of upside. We knew that at high school. He was a big flip we got. So I think the big thing this year is just showing how many guys we can feature this year. I think we could feature up to 4 most likely. I think Richard Young will get in some situations, but I think he may be the odd man out of our 5 scholarship running backs. The guy I'm highest on in the group, though, is Jam Miller. Just the physicality he runs with. He mowed everyone down last year. I mean, when he got a chance, he took it last year, and that's what I like to see. And Roydell and Jace did that in their freshman and sophomore years when they got to play. They took their opportunity. And I like how Jam's playing. I think Roydell may get featured. I think Sutton mentioned it last week, but just drop down into like a third down back or a blocking or a specialty role. I don't see him as like a dominator in carries. I think, like many other Alabama fans, the majority of the carries will predominantly be split between Jam and Jace before the job ultimately the next year goes to Jam to be the guy. And Justice is a horse too. He's obviously a fan favorite. Every time a guy shows they're putting extra work, you naturally grow to like him more. So I'm pretty high on Justice. I think he's going to force himself to play because I don't think he can keep a talent like that off the field. We've seen, Derrick Henry forced his way up from a third string to ultimately arguably being better than TJ Yeldon when TJ Yeldon was RB1 that year. So you can't disrespect the talent of Justice Haynes, and I think Richard Young's good too. So I'm really happy about this run back room. Got a lot of different talent that can be showcased. So, yeah.
And see, I said this last week too, and I've been saying it all year, honestly. Jason McClellan, I was saying that I feel like he could have been running back one last season if used properly. Because I think it started when the Ole Miss game when they really had to run the ball, and they ran the ball, and ever since the Ole Miss game, he was lights out. He was the running back that I knew he was ever since his freshman year. Then for the 2 spot, I put Roydell there for the experience. I really think he's going to be a third down back, like Sutton was saying last week. Honestly, I think towards the end of the year, middle of the year, at some point, he's going to fizzle out. And I think Jam Miller and Justice Hayes is going to be like 2A and 2B at that spot. I don't know which order, but I believe the strong three-headed monster will end up being Jace, Jam, and Justice.
That's a prediction right there. That you're going with the new guy, the newcomer. Speaking of which, freshman Richard Young and out of Buford, Georgia, and then freshman Justice Haynes out of Buford, and then Richard Young out of Florida. Both of them highly talented guys. We've seen them do 7-on-7s and just absolutely have guys lost out there as a running back. I mean, insane talent we've got coming in. And like Josh said, I mean, we don't have a guy who's just a superstar. But also to Nick,
we got rid of him. Trey Sanders.
Oh, come on.
I'm not gonna lie. Trey Sanders was one of my favorite dudes during the recruitment I saw. I was wishing so much. I was like, come on, this is Trey. Give Trey the ball. Nobody else is doing anything. Give it to him. And
yes,
it didn't happen.
Well, you're on Josh's best friend list now. He
I love Trey, man.
You up on that wall behind him after this conversation. But I mean, no, we don't have I don't think we've got we may have a future first round guy in Justice or Richard. But in terms of the guy that are really going to take the workload this year, like you said, Nick, Jace, if used properly last year, I mean, he was more of a guy that can run through the tackles. I think Jameer's not one of those guys. He won't do that a lot in the NFL. He's more of a guy that uses his perimeter speed to get on the outside and catch passes. That he's going to be really good out of the backfield for whatever team drafts him. But yeah, like y'all are saying, that third down back, Roydell, he's going to give you that extra push you need on a fourth and short. Jam, I've got Jam as my backup running back straight out of fall camp. I think he's shown the coaches this spring. I think he'll show us in the 8A game just how much more physical he is than the rest of the guys in there. I think he could end up being a Brian Robinson type back. He's a big guy, and he's just going to run through the tackle, and he's going to mow you over. Now, Jace is kind of the guy that can do it all, and definitely the leader of the group. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year, kind of as the feature back. I don't know who'll get more touches, him or Jam, but I definitely think Jace is going to be the guy we go to when we need a good run or a catch out of the backfield. I think that's going to be Jace.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think Jace is going to be the one that leads the team out to the field, and I don't think even if you're putting them in order, I don't think Saban and the coaching staff is going to treat it as an order. I think it's going to be which running back best fits the situation. Yeah. And it's just not because you're number one, you're going to get in every situation. I think it's just they're going to play by who's best suited to play those roles.
And who's fresh, who's got fresh legs.
And we're going to need all 5 running backs because it's shown that we've even had to call on linebackers and receiver to run the ball. So
last season.
Richard's going to have to be ready, even if he's at the bottom of the line to start. I mean, he's got to be ready because you never know what can happen, especially because Roydell and Jace have had such troubling careers with injuries, several over the last few years. So this whole room's got to be ready.
Yeah, going back to 21, I don't think Trey Sanders thought he was going to be a feature back, but we get in that playoff game or in the SEC championship game, he's carrying the rock. I'm about 10 times a game. I don't think if you told him, 4 or 5 weeks before that game, hey, you're going to get 10 touches or however many in the SEC championship game, he would have believed you. But I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, we had Christian Leary and Demoy Kennedy playing running back out of necessity. So injuries are unpredictable, but these guys have to be ready because running back is is a position now that's going to get hit so many times. They've got to be ready to take that brunt force and go in because you never know what can happen in a game.
Yeah,
and luckily you got Emmanuel Henderson and Kendrick Law who have experience if you need hybrid guys to run the ball too, because Emmanuel ran it a lot in high school, and there was rumor that Kendrick, when he came to Alabama, that it was either going to be wide receiver or running back. So I mean, very, very, you got 7 guys that could play in necessity. It's not like we're going to have to go on the other side of the ball to get someone to play that's never played before, like we did a few years ago.
And
put Milrow back there if we need to.
hey, a lot of people was talking about that last season. Make him a running back. Make him a running back. He'll be a great running back. But go back to when we had to go to Christian Leary and Demoy Kennedy. When Christian Leary transferred, it hurt my heart. I was so high on Christian Leary. I was heartbroken. I was very sad. I was like, no. But I was telling people that y'all don't understand that how talented this team is because Emmanuel Henderson was recruited as a 5-star running back, and he automatically switched to wide receiver.
And too about that, like Leary had an amazing spring game, and I thought he or JoJo, I thought he had a chance to beat JoJo out for the starting job this time last year. And it ended up being Kobe Prentice was the main slot guy, and Bond too, which were guys that I wouldn't ever imagine. So take all this with a grain of salt because things can turn around. We could be seeing a lot of people just shock people and show up when you don't expect them. So
absolutely,
I agree.
And that's the great part about spring, right? I mean, you get to see guys that you're not going to see as much, like old Ugly Bricks, Christian Leary now at Georgia Tech, Instagram handle. But he
originally transferred to UCF. Yeah,
he's going to join Javon. Javon Baker.
Javon Baker. Yep, he had a good season last season too.
Yeah, he did.
So, all right, next, go ahead.
Oh no, you got it.
No, I was about to bring up the wide receiver position. That's where you was going next.
Yeah. Good thinking.
Wide receiver.
We've got 5 departures at that position going into this year. We got obviously the aforementioned JoJo Earl. Very surprised to see this. I thought he was going to be a starter this year. Luckily, we've got a good amount of depth this year at that slot position, and really trust Kobe Prentice and Isaiah Bond to fill that role. But JoJo is definitely a big guy to leave. Trayshawn Holden at Oregon, though he had some complications with the law up there in Oregon, in Eugene, but he's back on the roster and he's looking to make an impact for them. Christian Leary, just like we mentioned at Georgia Tech. Aaron Anderson, another surprise in that slot at LSU, going back home to his home state of Louisiana. And then Tyler Harrell, he's also transferring. I think he's still undecided. Josh, I don't know.
I think
he's taking a gap semester. I think he may have already graduated. So I think he's taking time off school or something. Because I haven't seen it. I don't think he's at Alabama right now either. Because he hasn't announced a change in school either. So what's up with Tyler Harrell is news to me. So
yeah.
Well, let's take a look at this comment too that we have. Another Robert Smith comment. Who's y'all's offensive dark horse to start by the end of the season? We'll start off with you, Nick.
Jalen Hale.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
He reminds me of Justin Jefferson, man.
Wow.
Yeah, that long frame, yeah. Oh, I'll probably go Jam in certain situations. I think there'll be times where he gets hot and then where it's just you deserve the rock right now. We can't take it away from you. Like you said earlier, feed the hot hand. I think it'll be Jam. I don't think that's a surprise. I don't think there's really anyone that's going to – it could be a dark horse, but I think Jam would be the one I'd go to.
This is tough for me because I think Jam is a good answer, but just to give a different answer, a guy I'm really looking out for. I'm gonna say Terrence Ferguson on
Oh yeah.
on the interior O line. Depending on what happens, I mean, we don't know how good Darian Dalcourt is going to transfer. I'm sure he's going to be fine at left guard, but look for
He did
Ferguson.
say he didn't play guard position today too.
Yeah. I mean, look for Ferguson there. I mean, why not? You know, he's a tenured guy. He's been here. Coaches have talked well about him. He can play. I've heard any interior O line position. I know you did a segment on that, Nick, the other day. So I would look out for Terrence Ferguson. Let's go back to the receivers. We just mentioned all the departures, had 5 departures. We've got 4 newcomers. We've got junior Malik Benson out of JUCO, the number 1 JUCO player coming in. The Jalen Hale, the dark horse for Nick for this upcoming season. Also got 2 more freshmen, Jaron Hamilton and Cole Adams. And then a big group of returners that are going to make a huge impact for the team this year. Very excited to watch these guys play. Senior Jermaine Burton came to us last year from the University of Georgia, had 2 really good years as a Bulldog. Junior Ja'Cory Brooks has been called a dog by Coach Saban. Had his little press release today. Most notably that touchdown catch to tie up the game against Auburn in the 21 Iron Bowl really brought him out on the scene. We got 4 sophomores coming back. Kobe Prentice in the slot. Isaiah Bond in the slot, can play outside too. Kendrick Law, and another slot guy, Emmanuel Henderson. And then, of course, redshirt junior Ty Jones Bell is back, and redshirt freshman Shaz Preston. So we've got 11 guys in this group. Who do y'all see kind of headlining that group, getting out there with that Crimson offense on 8A? Those first maybe 5-6 guys at receiver.
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I think I've changed my thing completely. I think I may originally had Ja'Cory getting the most touches, but I'm going everything to Malik Benson. Like, I'm buying stock, like first round pick. Like, that's I am high on Malik Benson. Like, I expect only Marvin Harrison Jr. probably to be better than him this year. Like, especially in an Alabama offense. It depends how much we feature our wide receivers this year and who's quarterback. I think will play a big factor in that. I don't think you can not feature Malik Benson. I mean, they usually don't rate JUCOs as 5 stars, and like you can just tell by how quick he is. Reminds me of J-Mo and like just how like his long strides and stuff like that. I'm not saying he's J-Mo. Don't expect him to be J-Mo, but I think he's going to be his own guy. I think Ja'Cory's going to be. I think Ja'Cory last year and Burton had a real battle, like determining who would be the number 1 guy. And I don't think either of them were built to be the number 1 guy, but I think they probably better feature his secondary roles, and it may allow them to take less pressure off them. And I think Ja'Cory can probably get more catches. I think Burton gets some slants because obviously the deep game wasn't working with Burton last year. It was just a lack of chemistry between him and Bryce. Even that played on to not A-Day, but Pro Day this year for Bryce. Like, it just wasn't working deep this year. Even Malik have more chemistry with Bryce deep, playing with him before. So I think that's a strong group. I think the freshmen coming in, the freshmen from last year are a very good group. Kendrick Law and Isaiah Bond. I'm pretty high on them. I'm a big Shaz Preston guy. I don't think it's his time yet, but I think he will be featured in a tiny bit of a role that will like see the potential in him. And then Emmanuel, I think his more impact will come on special teams for that year. And then Jalen Hale, I mean, I think he's one of our best receiver prospects as a freshman in a while. I really like him. I like his how he looked out there in Lobo, Texas. So I think he's going to be a real stud. And then just Ty Jones Bell hasn't really found his feet at Alabama. I'd honestly put him under watch to be one of the guys that could leave in the spring. We have to have 2 guys to leave in the spring because we will be at, I think, 87 scholarship spots right now, counting Yanze, Connor Talty, Keon Keeley, and Richard Young. So 2 guys are going to have to leave the program when those 4 guys come in. So I'd honestly expect Ty because, I mean, go play somewhere for me. And I just don't see him, I just don't see him featuring in this lineup. I expect Jaron and Cole Adams, a freshman, they're probably redshirt this year. May see action on special teams, but I don't expect them to have much of an impact on the field this year.
And it's funny, like it's not funny, but when you even look at some potential depth charts everywhere, some of these players you don't even see their name up there really. And Tyu Jones on someone, but I don't even see his name pop up on there. Yeah. And he was somebody when he got recruited out of Florida. I liked the kid, but he just never found his foot in Alabama. And I'm going back to Jalen Hale. The reason why I say Jalen Hale, now he's not one of my. I'm not in my tops yet right now, but I'm just speaking on this because I feel like this freshman class, with the newcomers that we have coming in from the JUCO, I feel like they can have the same impact that the 2017 class had on that national championship team. I feel like at some point we're going to lean towards a lot of these newcomers and these young guys at some point. And that's why I got Jalen Hale as my dark horse receiver. But let's go back to the top. I feel like, I know I said Ja'Cory Brooks the other day, but as I've been looking, and I can't stop watching Malik Benson tape, man. I just can't stop watching it. And like I said, him working out in the pro day says a hell of a lot. It says a lot. Yeah. And I'm like you, Josh. I'm buying stock in it right now. Why is 3 cent share? I'm going all in. But this is going to benefit Ja'Cory Brooks, I feel like, tremendously, because I feel like he can be a good complement to a big-time number one guy. Now, my question to y'all is, do y'all think at some point Jermaine Burton fizzles out at some point? And somebody like Isaiah Bunn step up in the slot? Like, do y'all think he fizzles out at some point?
I don't. I think he's very talented. And Saban's kind of spoke on this before. He's talked about that confidence that Jermaine needs to just be a little bit more confident on his routes, a little bit more crisp at the top of the routes. I think Saban talked about this a week ago, didn't he, Josh?
Yeah.
A little bit more sharp on those routes. But I think Jermaine I think he'll be right up there on the top 3 on the team in receiving. I'm really looking at him as kind of a guy that he can run inside if you need him to. He definitely can run outside. I think he's more going to be more focused there. But no, yeah, I think Jermaine, he came over for a reason last year, and that was to make an immediate impact. And I don't see that impact going away. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree. The only situation I could see Jermaine possibly getting fizzled out is if they exclusively play Malik and Ja'Cory on the outside, and Ja'Cory and Malik are dominating, and they just want to keep Jermaine out on the outside. I would honestly like to see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, move Burton on the inside for that, and have Ja'Cory and Malik on the outside and feature Prentice or Bond. In comments, I'd want to know who you guys think who's going to lead the team in receiving. I think that'd be interesting way to get you guys involved. But yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I'm who I think leads the team in receiving. I honestly think it's going to be Ja'Cory Brooks because I think he's going to be that main possession guy that when you need a first down or something, I think he's going to be the clutch guy with the hands. I think he's going to be like the John Mechie type.
Yes.
And I feel like Malik Benson is going to be the big play explosive guy that's going to take the top off, or you can hit him with a slant and all of a sudden he take it for 60 yards or 40 yards, So I think Ja'Cory Brooks will be the leading receiver.
I'm going to say it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Bookmark Jermaine Burton as the leading receiver on this team.
Oh, I did that. I did that last year, though. I thought he'd be a 1,000-yard guy, and I mean,
just because of his versatility, just because you can move him in and out, and we may see him on the field a little bit more than we think we will. And also just to have a different answer from you guys, but y'all stole my thunder. But no, Jermaine, I expect big things from Jermaine. I did last year, but I think we saw him kind of come on towards the end of the year. There had a great Iron Bowl, had a great Sugar Bowl. I think he's going to kind of carry that into this year. He's going to have a full offseason now to work with both quarterbacks. So he's going to have – and he got to work with them last year too a little bit when they were in. But, I expect big things from Jermaine this year. And just like y'all were saying, I think Benson will be that guy to kind of take the top off. off the defense. His tape sticks out. He pops out at you on tape. He just looks like the real deal, first-round draft pick, like Josh was saying. But, yeah, I do see Ja'Cory having a role similar to Mechie this upcoming year.
And who would have thought last year that we wouldn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, or I think even a 1,000-yard rusher? It's weird. And that's why back to quarterbacks. That's why I think Ty will win the job. I think he probably gives us the best chance to feature one of our receivers to the best level. Like you saw, like back in the day when Jalen, before he like really revolutionized this guy at quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Calvin Ridley's numbers kind of went down.
Yeah.
And so I think when you got guys like Malik Benson, you can't keep guys like that and not feature him. Last year, it was a question I don't know if we had enough talent at receiver that was ready for the moment. And that's what I think the problem was this year. This year, I have no doubt because we have a lot of young guys that have experience and we have a lot of older guys that have experience. So I think that's the situation. I think we will have a 1,000-yard receiver, and I think it would be Malik. And then I think Ja'Cory and Burton will be around the same numbers with guys like Bond and maybe even Dupree funneling up behind that in receiving yards this year.
Good that you mentioned Dupree. Kind of lead us into our next topic with tight ends. The Cam Latu departing. A lot of Bama fans, has their opinions on Cam Latu and how much. I really enjoyed watching Latu play, especially a guy moving over from defense. I think that takes a lot of guts to move over a position that you're more comfortable with, and
especially at the college level.
Yeah, and take that advice that Saban, is giving you. But so we've got 5 returners, 2 juniors, Miles Kitselman and Robbie Oots. Got a sophomore, Amari Nyblack, coming back. 2 redshirt freshmen, Danny Lewis, Elijah Brown, and, of course, the 2 newcomers headlined by the Maryland transfer, C.J. Dupree. And Alabama fans, I don't know if you've seen video of C.J. Dupree, but go watch that Ohio State game last year, Maryland-Ohio State. He absolutely was torching them. Made a really good. He actually had I think he had a good hurdle on the sideline.
Yes,
looked really good. So very promising there. And then also freshman Ty Lockwood coming in. I think C.J. Dupree is gonna. And we talked about this last week, Nick. I think C.J. Dupree is gonna have an Irv Smith type impact on this team. He's just a guy that is an all around tight end that can block. He can move quick. He can catch those passes on the outside and on the inside. The quick little passes. I see Robbie Oots kind of sticking to that H-back role that he's been in. Yeah. And then obviously I think we'll see Kitselman a good bit in the blocking game. And another dark horse guy to watch out for in Amari Nyblack. He gives me a lot of hopefully not in the mental way that Jaleel Billingsley played. Yeah,
but athletic and talent-wise.
Yes, athletic-wise for sure. A very Jaleel Billingsley type build. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys are featured, especially with Dupree headlining that group. I don't think there's much debate on who's going to start there. So we'll start with you, Nick. Just kind of get your feel for how this tight end group is going to affect the offense this upcoming season in 2023.
See, and I spoke on this several times. I know I spoke on it last week. With the reason why I expect this tight end in the room to have so much an effect on this team, because I go back to the hires. Tyrese, he loves these tight ends. He loves to use his tight ends. Let's look at the tight ends he has had in his past offense. And just Notre Dame, period. Notre Dame puts out good tight ends, period. But up under Tyrese, he's done it too. Then you got McNulty. McNulty, they worked together before, and he was also was a tight ends coach before in Notre Dame. Ken Wisenhunt is a special assistant to Nick Saban. He's going to have some, like I said, he's going to be in this game playing and bouncing ideas off each other. He coached tight ends on several different occasions and has NFL experience. He worked with some high-profile guys in the NFL, Larry Fitzgerald, Kurt Warner. So he knows how this thing gonna work. And Joe Cox, we don't talk about him enough, but hey, he's an amazing young mind. So with C.J. Dupree, we just talked about it. The dude's athletic. He's gonna be one of those tight ends that he doesn't have to leave the field as much. So because he can block, he can catch, he can do it all. Robbie Oots, he's gonna be great for the 12 personnel because we like to use the extra tight end for a blocker or whatever. So he's gonna be a big contributor for this blocking game, like you said, the H-back role. And I compare Robbie Oots to what is the fullback name from San Francisco 49ers? It's some
How you
weird name. Yes, that's who he reminds me of. And if need to be, he can slip out and catch some passes as well. But my guy that I'm really looking forward to emerge is Mari Black in some red zone play because he's tall and lengthy. You can stretch him out wide if you need to, and use him for the mismatch at the receiver position for a mismatch. So I'm looking for him to emerge tremendously this year. And
He's got
Miles,
the versatility for it.
I like him too because we got him last season. We didn't see much of him, but I seen the good blocking potential that he has, and blocking is going to be key to this offense this season.
Yeah, and Saban's talked about over time. I'm huge on Amari Niblack. He's one of my favorite players on the team in general. I just see the upside with him. He's built like just a big receiver right now, which is blocking is the main thing with him. And props to, and I'll go back to Cam Latu. Props to Cam Latu because a lot of people have crapped on him over time, but he beat Jaleel Billingsley out for a job after Jaleel Billingsley, by most Bama fans, including me, I thought was going to be the next big thing, like future draft pick, like first, second round draft pick.
I thought he was the next Kyle Pitts.
oh yeah. He was unreal. Like just Jaleel came out of nowhere. And I really hope, and Saban's talked about this. I really hope Amari can develop to be a more well-rounded tight end, be able to put his hand in the dirt, block. We know he can catch. He caught a touchdown in Louisiana Monroe out of nowhere. Like people probably didn't even know he was on the field. And when I saw him, I was like, yes, he's going to get more of a role. But we just never saw that last year. I really hope. I think Amari's a project. I hope he gets featured this year. I don't expect him to be featured like as even the second guy in the unit, but I hope he's the second leading receiver of tight ends because I just see the potential in him to be the next great Alabama tight end as a receiver, and really high on him and how he can take things in his future. Robbie Oots too. I was pretty negative on him throughout the year last year, but then in the Iron Bowl, like he just came out of nowhere, had simple plays drawn up where he was left wide open. And if we can get him in situations like that where, we don't ask him to go make jump throws like we did in some game, like I think we were throwing like lob contested passes to him last year to catch like to Moss over someone. Like that's not Robbie Oots. Like I think anyone can tell by that. He's more of a blocking guy. But when he's open, I trust him to catch it. And I think as an H-back, I think he'll be highly utilized in this team. And, Kitselman can block. And then I think Danny Lewis and maybe Elijah get featured in some late game moments against some earlier in the year and later in the year. So pretty high on this tight end group.
Yes.
Yeah, like y'all were talking about, I really like the versatility of it. We've got a lot of different guys that can do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very important kind of in every room that you have. I mean, you can say that in the running back room, the receiver room, the tight end room, the quarterback room. I mean, we're very versatile. And I think that's what makes that's kind of what separates Alabama and these other SEC teams from the rest of the country is the SEC teams are just a little bit more versatile and more physical and faster than some of the other teams in the country. Truly is the best conference. But yeah, like y'all said, I'm very excited to watch this tight end group, especially CJ Dupree. I want to see his transition to the SEC and from the Big Ten. And we'll see kind of how he does this year.
And he may be the most physical big tight end we've had in a long time that can catch the ball. Like I think he's like 6'5", 260, which is unreal. And he had that big hurdle last year that shocked me when I saw. I was like, we're getting a dude here. And another place we got some dudes coming in. They may not all play right away, but is that offensive line, bro? Those recruits, 4 guys.
That's my favorite group.
4 guys in the freshman class above 6'6". You got Caden Proctor, you got Olaus, you got Wilkin Formby, the Taco Casa man, and Miles McVay, and also Rock Montgomery in the freshman class. And I think we got a real talented offensive line starters. I think JC's one of the probably top 3 in the country. Got experience at center where you go Seth or Darian. Tyler Booker is the next big thing in my opinion. And then Elijah Pritchett is, a highly regarded player within the organization. And I think we don't have the most depth there and experience, but I think the physicality, we're going to really develop these guys over time to become a more powerful unit like we've seen in years past.
Mm-hmm.
And had a lot of departures at that position too this offseason. The most of any position. And we had, let's see here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 departures.
Wow.
3 to the NFL, 5 transferring. Had Tyler Steen, Emil Ekiyor, and Amari Kite go to the NFL.
Amari Kite went to –
or excuse me, not Amari Kite, Kendall Randolph. Amari Kite to UCF, Tanner Bowles over to Kentucky, Damian George Jr. to Florida, Javian Cohen over to Miami, and then another TCU guy, Tommy Brockermeyer, joining JoJo Earl and Trey Sanders. And, we just talked about that awesome freshman class that we've got coming in, but also have a lot of really good returners. Like you were saying, two very experienced centers, and Darian Dalcourt, a grad student, and senior Seth McLaughlin. Also have another backup returner at center, James Brockermeyer, the brother of Tommy. I thought it was interesting that he didn't leave when Tommy did. I mean, I think that speaks on how much he likes it here in Tuscaloosa and at Alabama. Obviously, the O-line is going to be headlined by J.C. Latham, sophomore, like you said, Booker back, Terrence Ferguson, Elijah Pritchett, and Jaden Roberts. And I think Roberts talking about the Viking, Olaus out of Norway. Is it Norway? Is that where he's from?
Sweden.
Something
okay.
like that, yeah. When you think of a Viking,
Finland. Getting all the Nordic countries mixed up.
That's what it is.
Yeah. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Hey, in my mind, that's what I was thinking. I said, they're cousins.
Denmark would have been next.
Probably 150 years ago, me and Robert were talking about this. About 150 years ago, Olaus probably had an ancestor on a ship somewhere going to conquer some land up in Canada. I mean, good Lord, he looks just like a guy out of the 1700s Viking.
Well, his dad's even bigger though. If you saw his commitment when he committed to Alabama, his dad played, I think, in NFL Europe, and he's bigger than Olaus.
Maybe his dad has some college eligibility. Saban can slide him a scholarship below the door, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think like Josh was saying, I'm really looking forward to Elijah Pritchett. I'm really liking hearing from him, about him from the coaches and media. Really, really high on him. I think it says a lot that they're not moving J.C. Latham from right to left tackle. They're really confident in Elijah. So I don't know about you, Nick, but that's guy. I know you're an O-line guy. We talked about this last week. This is your thing. What do you think about Elijah?
So I said this last season as well. I think I told you too. I feel like if not for the injury, I'm not saying he would have been a starter, but with some of the struggles that even though we improved last season, it was still some question marks. I think he would have pushed for some playing time. Like, Tyler Booker got in the game, and when he got in, he let everybody know it was Tyler Booker in the game. I feel like Elijah Pritchett could have had that same effect last season if not for the injury. And to me, it's saying it all this year that left tackle, and we have J.C. Latham returning, and they didn't move him. It sounds like the easy move to move J.C. Latham from the right to left. It really sounds like easy, but that says a lot about Elijah Pritchett, in my opinion. And I remember watching some games of him in high school. Like, dude was pushing people. Like, I know it's Columbus, Georgia, and you don't always play against the equal talent, but the dude was bullying people, man. He was bullying people.
Looks different too, doesn't he?
Yeah, really different.
There's a picture of him, and I want to say it was a guy that he was committed to USC, but he played at Georgia last year. He's an edge rusher for Georgia. What was his name? Out of Columbus, but them standing side by side. Michael Williams, yes, Michael Williams, Georgia D lineman. Him and Elijah standing side by side was something to see, especially for those people in Columbus, Georgia. Those guys just look different from your typical high school football player. But yeah, I'm really excited about this group.
Yeah.
And like I said, my dark horse, Terrence Ferguson. Let's see what he's got this spring. I'm going to look for him in the spring game. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a crack at center too. We've heard that that he's maybe getting some looks at center. But I'm really looking to see what he brings on A-Day for that second team unit more than likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, I got a question to ask y'all.
Yeah.
What's up with the clip that came out of Miles McVay? I think he was bullied. He bullied Curtis Perry with that one hand pancake block.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it was.
I heard about it today though. I heard about it today. I think
Yeah,
they
if
asked,
I find it, if I find it, I'm gonna send it to y'all.
Yeah.
well, Miles is a big dude for me, St. Louis. So like
Yeah.
I mean, I think Miles is a bit of a project. I think they're playing him at tackle this spring. But I think like Jaheim, he's going to take some time in the nutrition department to change his body and get it accumulated to college football. But Miles, that's a dude right there.
Yeah.
But more along the depth chart lines, I'm like you guys said, I think Pritchett's going to keep that left tackle spot. I think as of now, it'll be Dalcourt at left, Seth at center, Booker right guard, Latham at right tackle. But I think either Ferguson or Proctor could come and play either guard spot if needed to start the year, because you never know, what can happen over time, that they may feel more confident in one of those guys playing over Dalcourt, or Dalcourt may win center. So I think Dalcourt and Proctor will probably be the immediate two subs if they call upon someone. And like if someone happened to like Pritchett at left tackle, I think they'd probably call on JC to move to left tackle, and then they move Proctor over to right tackle. Just so that I think that's the strongest view of how that line could be. And I'm real optimistic because I think we saw a lot of improvement last year under Wolford, way better than Marone. That Marone offensive line was horrific, and I think a lot of people like weren't as happy last year. But Bryce didn't get nearly sacked that much last year, and when he did get sacked, it was often like just from him scrambling, and that Drew Sanders injury was because he was scrambling. I didn't fear for Bryce near as much as I did 2 years ago. So I think with a new quarterback too, that's going to be a big thing, is how this line protects him. And I'm probably as confident as I've been, not as confident as 2020, but I'm very confident in this group to be a more physical, run heavy group too, that wins battles in the trenches, because that's what we've been needing for years, is win the battle in the trenches. And when we struggle in games, that's what we've been missing out, is losing the battle in trenches. Inability to pound the rock up the middle and get 4 yards, 5 yards every carry to, keep drives alive. And I think this line's going to do a good job at doing that.
Absolutely.
I agree. I completely agree.
Thank you, Tom.
So, what I was about to say, I lost my train of thought. So like we were saying, if Pritchett gets hurt, it's easy to move JC Latham over to the left tackle position, and y'all say bring in Caden Proctor, and that's what I actually have on my mind too. But y'all don't think they would try to slide Tyler Booker over and put Proctor in at the guard position? It's just a question.
I really think they could. Booker was recruited as a tackle. And let me say something. Those IMG tackles have been paying off. Those IMG offensive linemen have been paying off for us for years. Evan Neal, one of the best linemen in program history. JC is going to be a future first-round pick next year probably. And then Booker, I think, is a future first-round pick. I think he could be so dominant interiorly that there's almost no reason to move him on the outside. Because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because I think they have enough confidence in Proctor to bring him over, because we had to pull him away from his hometown, as he was a solid Iowa commit. And so he must have thought there was a chance of him playing, and that they were confident in him to play right away. So I think Proctor, they probably have the confidence to play Proctor there too. But I also think if Proctor's not there yet, they could move Tyler there if needed be. And then they could easily slide Jaden or Terrence Ferguson in at right guard.
Yeah, I thought I really liked what I saw of Booker last year at guard. I think he's more he has more of a guard build to me. I think he's more suited to play that inside, but he was just so dominant on the inside. I don't think they want to lose that presence. And plus, unless Terrence Ferguson is just truly that dominant on the interior, they may be a little bit more confident in and Ferguson playing, guard and just sticking Proctor out at tackle if need be, then rather than having a true freshman Proctor, Ferguson's been here. This is his third year. He's redshirt sophomore.
Yeah.
That very well could happen. I mean, obviously only time will tell, and hopefully we'll never have to know because there won't be an injury there. I mean, that's another possibility that we could have on the O-line. But I think we've got those two guys kind of last year Saban talked about that we had 6 guys on the O-line that he viewed as starters. Booker didn't start games last year. Cohen and Ekiyor started at guard, but Booker would get rotated in. Now I think this year we've got 7 guys that Saban would consider starters. We've got Pritchett, Dalcourt, McLaughlin, Booker, Latham. Now, and I think we've got Proctor and Ferguson. So I think we've got 7 starting caliber guys that if you said, hey, I'm going to put these guys on another SEC roster, I think an SEC team could find the spot up for them on that O-line or perhaps be the best player on the O-line, just one of these guys. So I think Alabama's very deep at that position this year. I think that's a position that we're not going to have to worry about like we have in the past.
And even more on Booker. Oh, yeah. Even more on Booker, like, I think he's like his intensity is unreal, and I think he's a real path in that inside to regaining that intensity. Winning the battle in the trenches, attacking those interior defensive linemen. I think he is like I don't see how we can take him away from it. Like, and if we need him at tackle, so be it. But I just think his intensity at guard and physicality is one of the best commodities I've seen at guard as far as talent in a long time, since like the Flukers or even when Neil played guard or Chance Warmack, who I've seen a lot of comparisons with.
I liked Cam Robinson's intensity when he played.
Cam Robinson was nice. And to add on what y'all saying too, like to me the guard before Tyler Booker got in the game, to me that's what was lacking in the inside. And let's go back to Caden Proctor, where I wouldn't mind moving him out the tackle because this was my favorite commit during the recruiting cycle. Like I say, I'm an offensive line guy, so I'm biased towards them guys. Even before he committed to Iowa, when he committed to Iowa, I was like, dang. Then he took his commitment away. I was like, he coming. And when he came, Caden Proctor was my guy. But we need the interior so we can run in between guards and tackles. We need the guard position to stay strong. So we need Tyler Booker at the guard position. I just know Booker was recruited as a tackle. That's why I say it's just a question. But I feel like in the end, Ferguson, if Dalcourt doesn't work out, I feel like he really can work out at that position. Because let's go back to his recruitment and his commitment to Alabama. He was a big deal in the offensive line class. He was a big deal.
Oh, that 2020 class offensive line, I was so high. Not 2020, 2021. So it was him, Tommy, James,
James,
JC. That was one of the most. Other than this year, that was probably the most fun I've because it seemed like something new was happening every day over the summer. Just recruit after recruit that year, and that offensive line's pretty talented. Oh, and Jaden Roberts too, I think is in that class too, which he was a little lower down in the rankings, but I think this line I'm very optimistic about in general.
Yes, sir.
Chat, if y'all have got questions, feel free to ask us. We kind of want this to be interactive too, so feel free to drop a question down below and we'll answer it. But I think we touched everything offensively. I did want to just mention before we got off special teams. Big news this offseason with Will Reichard coming back as the place kicker. I think that honestly, to me, that was one of the biggest things. I know he struggled maybe a little bit. But, I think Alabama fans are just happy to have someone that is capable of making a field goal, a PAT every now and again. I think that was one of the biggest things that happened over this offseason was getting him back, especially to mentor a guy like Connor Talty, one of the top kickers in the country coming out of last year's class. And I think it'll be interesting to see what Talty does this year, if he travels with the team or not. I know Saban typically only takes, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 kickers to a road game, but
Talty would be the backup, though. I mean, I think.
Do they want to not gray shirt him? That's my question.
I've heard that they're going to bring him in. They're going to bring him in, and we've had 2 scholarship kickers before. I think I saw somewhere that I think Adam Griffith's freshman year, when he was the number one kicker out of high school, we had him and Cade on scholarship at the same time. So that's another thing that's interesting with the scholarship point. If we have to get to when we have to get 85, Talty's going to be one of those numbers, which would be interesting if he gray shirted. But I think they've probably already made a promise to him, but they also can't turn Will Riker down, who is I think definitively the program's best kicker of all time, definitely the best I've seen in my lifetime.
But I think another guy that in just watching him in warmups, very confident looking guy that can kick and punt, Upton Bellenfant, the walk on, the redhead walk on. He looks very. At the Sugar Bowl last year, I was there a few hours early, and he was kicking same distance as Will Riker was kicking, and he was nailing them. So I think that's why I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Talty if he does end up gray shirting or not, because I think Bellenfant is more than capable as a walk on. Then you can use another. You can bring another player with you instead of having to take. And he can also punt. I mean, Riker can punt. He did it his freshman year, but he got hurt doing it.
True.
So I think having a guy that can do both, kind of in your back pocket, like Upton Bellenfant can do, I think that's kind of an asset, honestly, and that may end up really helping him out in the future. I mean, obviously he'll never start here, but it could get him on the trip. You never know.
And hold on. The reason why I like the Riker returning because of he had the struggles last year. He had his moments last year, but we all seen when he bounced back from his after his freshman year. He had a great year. He had great years. It's just every kicker has his day at times, and last season was it. But this season, I think he's coming back to make a statement for the next up and coming draft. He's going to improve himself that I'm the best kicker coming out of college this year, and he's going to be clutch to our offense because we think the offense is going to be this and that, but we don't know. But I feel like kicking is going to be field goals are going to be key for us to get points on the board this year at times.
Yeah, having a field goal kicker is a weapon. He's kind of and Riker's one of the best in the country coming in this year. So I definitely think that he's back to prove his statement, and he's definitely going to be a weapon, kind of back pocket that we have. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Oh, and I think more on that is I think his career especially after the injury, I think his career, just how things unfolded for him, really was beneficial to him. After he came in 2019, got injured. 2020, the offense was so dominant, we didn't have to kick field goals. Like, we barely kicked field goals. We barely punted. Like, I forgot Charlie Scott was on the team. He never punted. We were that good offensively. We were scoring every drive. I mean, Ole Miss game, we scored, I think, every drive. Like, Mac had to be near perfect, because that was a end-to-end affair. And, Riker really got to, he was making his kicks. Didn't have to kick many, but he did. So he's very confident coming into the next year. And then I think just the next 2 years have been really great. He missed, I think, one against Tennessee this year. But, I mean, he's the all-time points leader in program history. I mean, I wrote an article on that. I would have never thought, for years growing up for me, Lee Tiffin was probably the best kicker for a while that I've watched. But then just the years of, like, Griffith, Cade Foster, Papanassus, oh, my God. My eyes are bleeding thinking of that. Those were just like so terrible that like you had no faith in kickers, like absolutely no faith in kickers. But Will has been so good, and the only thing I think Will needs to improve on to become an NFL draft pick is I think he needs to improve his distance because the NFL kickers they look for you to make 53 to 55 yarders, like and make them by good distance. Will's like max I think at Alabama is around 52, and I think. And some of his missed kicks come from the right hash mark. So maybe making those a little more because NFL kickers, they expect you to be lethal. I think that's what oh my God, what a question. I'm really looking forward to Will, and I think he's a bright.
For people wondering the answer to the question right there, his name is either A, Ronald Acuna Jr. or Austin Riley. Cardinals killers. That is the question right there, or that's the answer right there.
Favorite brand of all time? the great Matt Adams, former Cardinal too. So
Hey, listen, y'all see it right there. Chipper, Dale Murray, and Hank.
Yeah.
yeah, Matt Adams. There's not
Cardinals
much.
fans, just ask Josh. He's had a rough
I've
past
had a
3
rough
days.
week with the Cardinals will let me down. The Cardinals haven't had much turnout. I don't think many players have played for both the Cardinals and the Braves over time. I can think of Matt Adams in recent history, but I don't know.
Yeah, David Justice, good player. Yeah.
Yeah. Chad, if you remember any guys that played for Cardinals and Braves, I'd like to know because I can't think of many that have crossed over. I know Wainwright originally entered
was a guy.
Yeah, he came in through the Brave system, and he's a Georgia guy, but he never played. He debuted in the big leagues with the Cardinals. So.
I'm a Boston guy, but I used to love me some Pujols, man. I love Pujols.
Bro, those 11 years are, I think, are the greatest, one of the greatest stretches in baseball history of a prime. 300, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs for 10 straight years.
Yeah,
and then he went to LA, career flopped, and he comes back to St. Louis to retire. Has a great year. Yeah, so
perfect ending to a career.
Spoken
to the Braves fan.
And I was a baseball guy myself, and when y'all got Kobe Rasmus, I was happy. I played ball with Kobe Rasmus. I played with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colby was good. Hey, we had Casey. The Braves had Casey as a relief pitcher for a little bit.
Yeah,
JD Drew. Yeah,
JD Drew. I'm gonna tell you who I used to like from the Braves though, man. I used to like that daggone Marcus Giles at second base, man. I used to love his swing. I feel like every swing he took was for the fence. I just feel like every swing was a home run. So I used to love that dude, man.
That's how I felt about Dan Uggla, one of my favorite players growing up. Had the wackiest stance, but he played hard. I liked it. Yeah, great Ozzie Smith. Well, kind of, what are y'all's last thoughts about get back to Alabama football as we're wrapping up the show here? What have y'all taken away from just talking ball, talking offense tonight?
Miro's going to be that guy. And the reason why I say that because I feel like, and the reason why I say this because I feel like Tommy Reese is going to simplify things for this guy so he can be able to use all of Miro's ability. And even for the same with Ty Simpson, it's going to be the same for either guy. But whatever, like I said, whatever quarterback he goes with, I believe it's going to be. Believe me, it's going to be molded around that guy. He's going to get the best abilities out of whatever guy.
And one thing, capping this off, if we play Georgia by the end of the year, if we play them in either SEC championship or national championship, who do you think against that lethal Georgia defense, who Kirby is going to game plan harder for any other team because he's 1-4 against Saban. He may have won the last 2 national championships, but he has a losing record against Saban. Would he roll out Milroe? Who do you think gives us the best chance of winning, Ty or Milroe? I think we'll find out more over the spring. But if I had to say now, I think by then, I think it would be Ty. And that's my summary because I think he can feature all these receivers we got in talent because we got a lot of receivers. We got a lot of tight ends that are very competent and capable of doing great things at Alabama. I just think Ty's going to be that guy. And I'm really looking forward to Tommy Reese and what he does with this offense.
Yeah, and like you said there, I really think a thing that we missed a little bit with O'Brien was really showcasing our guys' talent. Nick, we talked about this last week.
Yes.
Playing to the strengths of your team, not just playing. I think that's a big thing, and I think Tommy Reese's creativity is really going to help that out this year. And like both y'all are saying, I think Miller is going to start. Nick thinks that. You think Simpson. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to that guy who can distribute it to our playmakers the most and turn the ball over the least. I think we'll be fine with either one of those guys. Either one of those guys look to me are going to think about this. Like we said this a million times last week, 120 teams would love to have the problems that Alabama has.
Facts.
And we think as a fan base, we think it's a problem. In reality, it's really not a problem. We're going to trust Nick Saban to do the job. We're going to trust these new coaches, and they're going to get it done. And that's just how it is at the end of the day. So I'm really looking forward to our offensive play calling and just showcasing these guys' real talent because we know it's there. It's not like it wasn't there last year. It was. They tapped into it, but I'm looking for Reese to tap into that a little bit more this season.
Eric, hopefully, Eric. I know me and Nick are big on Amari, so hopefully he will get it going. Got big. I think he has a lot of great potential for us and can do some good things.
Absolutely.
So. But hey, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. I see everybody probably got to work in the morning. So good night, everybody. Hey, I thank y'all for tuning in. It's been another episode of Nick Saban Jr. Sports Talk TV show with my guys, Sutton Smith, Josh. Hey, I appreciate y'all for having y'all on. Hey, I'm about to end it, but don't y'all leave y'all. I want to talk to y'all. So good night, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in and roll tide and look out for part 2 of this.
Yep, got defense coming next week.
Yes, defense is coming.
Caleb down.
Roll tide, guys.
Roll tide.
Roll tide.